It's the fourth stage of alcoholism, the point of no return. But can you predict when this is going to happen? Can you quit drinking before you go over that cliff of actually turning into a chemically dependent alcoholic who wants alcohol more than anything and will do just about anything to get it? Today, what we're going to do is talk about something that's kind of sad and depressing because there is a point in time where you hit that fourth stage of alcoholism where you might be a casual drinker, you might be able to handle things, but then all of a sudden, a switch flips and your life is changed forever and you can't stop drinking. Are there warning signs? Are there things to look out for? Are you an alcoholic? Are you just struggling to quit drinking and you find it a little bit difficult? Well, today we're going to talk about some serious truths when it comes to gauging whether you're an alcoholic and whether you've crossed that threshold into full-blown alcoholism and what to do if you need help at any stage. So today is going to be an interesting talk. Terry, how you doing today?
I'm doing well.
All right, let's see. Yes,
I
your
guess I
audio is
should start
working.
talking.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of known that there's some stages of alcoholism, and there's what. Well, let me go back. There's a researcher, and we've talked about this before, and his name was Elvin Jelinek, and he is a biostatistician and alcohol abuse researcher, and what he kind of came up with this model of stages of alcoholism, and he came up with there's basically four stages of alcoholism, and I want to get into those and tell you guys about them, and maybe you can find out where you were if you have stopped drinking, or where you might be right now if you are still drinking, and what you can do about it, because that's really the important thing. And I'll tell you right now, for me, I was a fourth stage alcoholic, absolutely. And I could not quit. There was nothing I could do about it. And I needed help, and I absolutely needed help. And that's something that pretty much anybody that's in any of these stages of alcoholism, they need to get help. And professional help is the best way to do it, absolutely. But as far as the stages of alcoholism, I think the first stage is called pre-alcoholic stage. So maybe you don't have a dependence on it. And before I go on about these stages, understand that no a person's not going to like neatly fit into a stage, and there's not really lines in between these stages, and you can be kind of in one stage and the other. It's really hard to tell, and that's what makes alcohol dependence really difficult to understand. And that's why you may hear, like, in the 12 step rooms, where you're only you know if you're an alcoholic, and there's some truth to that, because it's really hard to tell as far as what stage you're in, or if you are a true alcoholic, or maybe you are one and you don't admit it, or you're not one, or whatever. There's really no fine lines between all this stuff, so it's difficult to understand. But let's kind of go through them here. So the pre-alcoholic stage is kind of where there's little evidence of the problem of drinking. So you're not really getting too many of the negative consequences. When you might like experiment with alcohol, and your alcohol tolerance might start to develop. Maybe you or somebody that when you're drinking, that they can handle more, and maybe it's not causing any problems in your life whatsoever, or maybe you had a small consequence or something because of it. You partied too heavily, you woke up with a hangover, something like that. And you might be drinking more regularly as like a coping mechanism for anxiety or stress or other things like that, or even for celebration, something like that. But that's kind of the pre-alcoholic stage. Not too many problems. The next stage is called early stage alcoholism, and this is kind of a transitional stage where the pattern of alcohol misuse kind of begins, and the drinking, it becomes more regular. So you see how there's really not really a line. You in the pre-alcoholic stage, you were drinking kind of a little bit too much, and now you're drinking a little bit more regularly. And the social gatherings may be an excuse to drink, or you had a bad day at work, you drink, something like that. But maybe maybe you're using the alcohol to cope with some of those negative consequences, and the hangovers are starting to happen a little more. So this next that early stage is just kind of the beginning. Maybe you haven't quite got a dependence yet, and you just kind of have this feeling of, a drink is going to it's going to help me out today. That's kind of the feeling you might be getting. Now, this next stage, which is the third stage, is the middle stage. And this is really a transitional stage for most alcoholics. And most alcoholics can usually quit without help, or maybe with minimal help at this point. But it is considered in that Jelinek theory that it's the most crucial stage. And this is where people might begin to drink frequently and consistently. And maybe they're even starting the day with a drink, getting that Bloody Mary or something like that. Maybe some of their relationships with friends and family are starting to get worse. You're starting to get into some arguments. Maybe some people are pointing out the fact that, maybe you should kind of watch your drinking. The hangovers are happening more and more. There might even be health impacts because of the healthy drinking. Like, you're getting sick more often, or maybe you're having some accidents more often, things like that. And it's just more of the same, except it's just getting worse and worse. Now, late stage alcoholism, and this is generally considered the final stage of alcoholism, and that's where they say it's a complete loss of control over alcohol consumption. Now, when I was in this late stage, I felt I had control over my alcohol consumption. Although, when I look back on it, I didn't, because I drank way to excess. And I mean, I'm not even going to tell you how much, but it was a lot. I was drinking a lot every day. I was drinking from morning until evening. Sometimes I had to wake up in the middle of the night to drink, and that was really further on in that late stage of alcoholism. But one telltale sign is when you have that drink, that kind of brings you up to a normal level. You start to feel normal. When you don't have the alcohol in your system, you're kind of sick. You're thinking about it constantly. I do have to say, in this late stage, I was able to sober up, for important things, court dates, things like important things in my life that I had to deal with. I was able to sober up. It wasn't like I was drunk 24 hours a day. That's pretty common, and people can sober up for a short time. But I tell you, during that time, I had my plan to get my drink next, and that was really a telltale sign for me. And if I went any length of time without the alcohol consumption in this last stage, I experienced withdrawal symptoms, and that was the nausea, the shakiness, the feeling sick, the anxiety, the just being grumpy, angry, short answers, driving people out of my life, and things like that. I was actually, even though I said I did have the anger and all that, I didn't show that. I had this house of cards built around me. I was a happy guy. People liked me, but as I realized I needed to drink more and more, I would just kind of isolate more and more. And I think a lot of us experience this is the isolation, because we don't want somebody to tell us that we need to stop drinking, because deep down we kind of know we need to. And that's the tough thing about this fourth stage. In the fourth stage of alcoholism, you really need help to stop. Our mind has been hijacked by alcohol, and we think we can control it. We think we can do this on our own, because we don't want to admit. If we admit, that means we're committing to quitting. And it's a difficult thing to do, because the alcohol was our answer, and it still is when we're in this stage of alcoholism. It is the answer. It's what our life revolves around, and at least that's the case with me. And I mean, you guys can comment and let me know how you were thinking, but But this is the way. This is what my experience was. In this fourth stage, life and alcohol were the same thing, and that's what happened in my life. And Marcus, I think you kind of felt about the same way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was dealing with my alcoholism. It seemed like it was okay. I could quit for 2, 3 weeks at a time, and it seemed like it was going okay. But I would have these bouts where I would go back to drinking, and I didn't know why. It's like, okay, who's controlling me? Why did I want to drink? I was doing fine. And all of a sudden, I'd find myself drunk again. And I remember I actually hated being drunk. That was not the feeling I was after. I just wanted enough to forget, only it never ended up that way, right? I always got too much and drank myself into oblivion. And what happened was I didn't realize certain things creeping up on me and certain things that I valued going away from my life. Where it was like, okay, I value time with family. Well, now I have to be drunk to do anything, right? I have to drink to do anything. I valued time with friends. Okay, I had to have 4 or 5 drinks before I went and hung out with people I cared about. Um, and over time, these things just creeped in, and life became more about the drink. I would plan my day. Okay, I'm going to go to this place. I need to have three because I'll probably need 4 or 5 there, but I have to have three so that I could actually get there. And I would time occasions, I would cancel events, and things would just be chaotic. But I had that illusion of control because, hell, I could stay sober 3 weeks at a time. I mean, I'm not an alcoholic. And the last thing I ever wanted to do was admit to myself I was an alcoholic, because then it meant, above all else, I can't drink anymore. That was scary, because the drinking was the only thing I knew that would help me calm my mind, that would help me escape from this prison of thoughts that I had created. And what happens is you think your thoughts are reality. You think that what's going on in your head is actually reality. And it sucks because it's not reality. You only think it is. Now, there are things like Nomad saying he's having a court date tomorrow. That's reality. But there
Yeah.
are things that probably led to that weren't reality, that made you drink even though you knew it wasn't the best option. And for your body and your mind, you feel like it's the best option because it's the only one you know. And I remember crossing over to where it was like, okay, I drink occasionally, probably too much sometimes, but now I have to drink all day, every day, regardless of what's going on. Unfortunately for me, I did drink and drive sometimes. Luckily, I didn't have to drive too much, but the little bits that I did, I regret, and no one should ever do that. But again, like, why would I do that often and not care? Because alcohol was taking over, and I started to realize, like, wow, I need alcohol to basically survive, or so I thought. Right? This is one of the things that alcohol lies to you about. Later, I realized that I did need to go to the doctor and get help for the detox, because that is deadly and it is dangerous and it is scary. Always go to a doctor with detox. But I realized that no matter what, like, you could have taken anything from my life, just not the alcohol. And I probably would have found a way to cope as long as I had that alcohol, because that was my way to cope. It was destroying my health, my life, my family, my business. Everything that I held dear was dwindling. And you look at people on the side of the road and you're like, okay, that guy, he lives in a tent. I would never be that way. Well, I'd like to say that, but I was getting pretty close. Luckily, I had people around that stopped that. But, when you're too far gone, you're too far gone, and that's all you care about. I could see myself going that far easily. All it is a flip of a switch from drinking occasionally to alcoholism. And you kind of know when you've gotten there, you just don't want to admit it. Like, okay, yeah, something's not right. I am drinking too much, and I have to have it, right? And if you don't believe you're an alcoholic, go to the doctor and try to stay sober for 3 days. You'll feel it, right? You'll feel what's going on, or 3 weeks, or whatever it is. You'll feel the difference. And you'll know, hey, you know what? I probably crossed over into alcoholism. And maybe you're one of those people who hasn't yet crossed over. Maybe you just drink a little bit too much and you need to control your drinking. right? That was probably the most dangerous phrase people could have given me as an alcoholic. Control your drinking. You have this illusion of control, but the fact that you need to control it means there's a problem with it. Like normal people aren't, oh, I need to control my drinking. They just go and drink, and then they come home and they're like, okay, I got to go to work tomorrow. I'm not going to drink. Us alcoholics, we go out drinking, and then the next morning we have to drink, and then throughout the day we need to drink. And it's important to realize that there is no time of day that makes you an alcoholic. I know some people say, oh, if you morning drink, that's it. Or I remember someone said, if you say, I need a drink, then you've crossed over into alcoholism. None of these are true. What's true is you're an alcoholic when you feel like you drink even though there's negative consequences, right? The negative consequences in my life were piling up like crazy. I mean, losing a business that I worked really hard for. I worked at it for 15 years. I was about to lose everything. Losing a house that I loved. Losing the respect of my kids. That was a really difficult one. Having to exit life for 30 days to go to a rehab, that was a very difficult one. And looking at these things, I kept drinking even though there was negative consequences. And maybe your negative consequences aren't court dates and, drama stuff. Maybe it's just that your health's dwindling, or maybe you're drinking too much and it's affecting your life. And you continue to drink. Why? Well, you're probably getting to that fourth stage, or already in that fourth stage, where you can no longer quit. And I got to tell you, Terry, I don't know, I'll put you on the screen here to get your reaction here. I don't know about you, but I can only describe the fourth stage of alcoholism as the most effed up thing I've ever been through. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. It is absolute hell. Your mind is consumed with thoughts that are not real. Your mind is consumed with all I can do is get the next drink. You don't care about anything except the drink, and it literally consumes your life, but you blame everything but the drink. So it's like you're literally getting, metaphorically, punched in the face every day, but you're not blaming the fist. Like, oh no, it's something else. And it's very similar to someone in an abusive relationship. We've all known that person who's in an abusive relationship, and you're like, that person's abusing you. It's causing effects in your life. They're not treating you properly, yet you continue to stay despite negative consequences. That's a form of addiction. Now, the difference between all other addictions and drugs and alcohol is drugs and alcohol warps your brain by consuming it. Okay, now you might say, oh, well, the person in the relationship, their brain does change. True. That changes through time and through things like that. Alcohol is actually changing your brain right then and there. When you drink alcohol, like I've been sober 10 years coming up very soon. If I drank alcohol, even though I've been sober 10 years like a good guy, right? If I drank, it would no doubt affect me the same way. It would change my brain instantly. Now, if you were out of an abusive relationship for 25 years and you happen to see the guy on the road, sure, things are going to happen, but it's not going to affect your brain. It's not going to tweak your brain the way that alcohol does. Now, I'm not saying go do that. Obviously, stay away from people who hurt you. This is an example. And realizing that, people like to compare cigarette smoking with alcoholism. In a sense, is the addiction there? Sure. Is it warping your brain at the time you have it? No, I've never seen someone smoke a cigarette and get drunk. It's never happened. They could smoke 50 packs of cigarettes and they're not going to get drunk. Is there an addictive property? Yes. Is it chemical dependency warping your brain the way that alcohol and drug addiction does? No, it's not. In my opinion, I think there's some people who agree, some people who disagree. But looking at it, it makes it much easier to realize, now I know the problem. Now I know the problem. Like if you go to the doctor and they're like, you've been smoking too long and now you have a problem with your lungs. Now you know the problem. Quit smoking, it'll probably restore itself, hopefully. Talk to your doctor about that. But with alcoholism, we look at that and it's like, it is affecting me and it's lying to me saying it's not affecting me. and it's causing all this stuff in my life, but I protect it. But when I quit for the 3 weeks, everything's great. So why do I
Yet you
keep
go back
going back?
again. Yeah.
Why? Yeah. And it's like I said, it's the most effed up thing you can go through, and it is hell. I would never want that again, which is part of the reason I don't drink. I don't want that again. Are there times I've thought about, oh yeah, having a whiskey or a beer or whatever might be nice right now? Sure. But I remember, and I put at the forefront of my mind, this is where that took me. Be like the person in the abusive relationship being like, oh, well, he got a new hat. Is that going to change anything? Like, he got a new hat. Oh, he looks real cute in that hat. Yeah, but he's still an abusive person. Good, stay away. Alcohol is still alcohol. The properties will not change. And you won't change, right? The best thing to do is stay away. Will you be able to have it once in a while? Sure, maybe. Can you? I mean, I'm sure Terry's been sober 10 years. I've been sober 10 years. Probably be fine if we had one or two today. But what about tomorrow and the next day? Because the fourth stage of alcoholism didn't snap and happen one day. It was slow things that led up to it, and it seemed like happened one day. And that'll happen again. I guarantee if I was drinking again, it would no doubt get there. Don't know how long it'd take, but I sure as hell don't want to figure it out. Because I remember what that was like. And everyone here that has struggled with alcoholism, you know what that's like. That's why you watch videos like this. That's why you come on channels like this. Because you know it's something that is affecting you in a way that you might not get out of one day. And it's a scary thought. What are your thoughts on that, Terry?
Yeah, I know for a fact that if I was to have a drink, I'd be right back there. And I've seen people that have had extensive sobriety time, and they've gone out and had drinks. And usually, a lot of times, what their story is they had a couple and they were okay. Then, a week later, they had some more and they were okay. And it kind of slowly built up. Now, for me, people like to call it a relapse. And so I'll just say that I had a relapse 1 month after I got sober out of rehab, and I started drinking, and I was right back to the same tolerance level as I was. And okay, so maybe I could go back to, maybe I could be thinking right now, well, that was because I was so close. That's why my tolerance level. But the fact is, and it's backed by science, that if you go and you have more drinks right now after extended amount of sobriety, you're going to be right to where you were when you stopped drinking. You don't go back to the beginning of your tolerance level. It's still there. And that's the dangerous thing about it. So I would need a huge quantity of alcohol. And with the way I am now, I may not survive it. It wouldn't, just not a safe thing for me to do. So I proved it to myself after 1 month of sobriety. I've seen it happen in many times with other people, and I've seen the science behind it. So I have to stay convinced. And now this is a hard thing for many people, and this is why many people start drinking again after time of sobriety is, I think I'm unique. I can do this. I've done a lot of things that many people don't, or haven't done, or can't do. I'm unique. I can do this. And so I have to get that out of the picture. I need to stay sober if I want to continue living a productive and happy life, because I'm definitely much happier with alcohol out of my life. And, people that aren't alcoholics, they may not understand this, and that's fine. It's just, that's the way I am. And that's what I'm going to worry about, is what I can do and what I can continue to do. Yeah, there was one comment I wanted to see. MJA said, it's amazing that once you get out from under it, you look back and wonder how you got there. And I did that for a long time. I looked back, how did I get here? What caused this? And, for me, I don't know. I've tried to figure it out, and I finally gave up. Why? Why do I need to worry about how I got here? So I don't really wonder so much anymore. Well, I know how I got there. I drank. It's that simple. And I drank too much for too long, and that's what it was. as far as other circumstances that may have driven me to the alcoholism, I don't know. So because there's some in my family, some in my older family, maybe my circumstances. I went to a public high school with after-school keggers. Is that it? I don't know. Who cares? The fact is, I'm not going to have a drink anymore. And do I regret what I've gone through? No, actually, I've learned how to live life because of what I've gone through. And my experiences, yeah, I had some bad experiences and I've done some things that I do regret, but I don't experience the general things of what I've gone through in life. Am very fortunate in life. There's a lot of people that are nowhere near as fortunate as I am. So I have to count my blessings and be grateful for what I have. But yeah, that's it. Dave says that one drink for me, and it wouldn't be long before it would be all day, every day, back on the roller coaster. And that's I've seen it happen so many times, and it happened with me when I was before I got sober and right after I got sober. It's a dangerous roller coaster, absolutely. So yeah, well, we have a sobriety program, and our sobriety program will help you get and stay sober. And all you got to do is go over to talksober.com, and Marcus has put it up on the screen, and you click on the yellow button there. It says join our online recovery class, and it's $27 a month. It's 30-day program. There's videos, there's letters, there's worksheets, and lots of stuff you can work through. And will give you daily things to do so that you can stay sober. And it's what Marcus and I have done in our sobriety. And all you got to do is go over to that sign-in sheet and put your name in and your information, and we can get you started on that. And if you do sign up, I'll see it, and I'll reach out to you, make sure everything's good, make sure you're logging in, and see if I can help you in any way. We also have, you can get a private call with both Marcus and myself, and we can talk to you about your sobriety journey or the journey you're about to take. And yeah, and we also have a Facebook group you can join. Just ask to join, and I'll check you out, make sure you're a real person, and let you join and talk to some other people that are going through the same stuff you are, and maybe there's some answers there for you.
Absolutely. So thanks for that, Terry. Talksober.com, as it says there, and down there. There we go. You could join and help us out with what we're doing. It helps keep us on the air and keep everything going and everything like that. So hopefully you guys enjoy the stuff and get a lot out of these talks, because that's why we do them, which is good. So check out talksober.com. If you guys got any questions, just reach out to us. Let us know, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.